It was a crisp, clear morning in Liberty Park, a place where every Veterans Day, the community came together to lay wreaths, honor the fallen, and reflect on the sacrifices made for this country. The sun was shining bright, like it had been every year, casting a golden hue over the memorial. But this year, everything changed. General Alpha Ramsey stood at the podium, her uniform immaculate, her eyes scanning the crowd of veterans and their families. This was her day, as it was for so many others here, a time to reflect on the past, to honor those who had served. But there was a knot in her chest, something that made her feel uneasy. She couldn't quite put her finger on it. Maybe it was the way the morning felt a little too quiet, or the strange tension that hung in the air. She tried to shake it off, focus on the ceremony. She had to. She was the keynote speaker. Not far from where the ceremony was taking place, Sergeant Major Frank Holhan, a retired U.S. Army veteran, sat in his mobility scooter with his service dog, Ranger, by his side. Frank was a fixture at the ceremony. Every year, he came out to honor his brothers in arms, to stand at the memorial, and to pay his respects. At 80 years old, he was no longer the strong, young man he had once been. His body had been ravaged by time and the scars of war. But today was special. Today, he was here to remember. And Ranger, his loyal companion, was always there to help him through it, his four-legged shadow, ever vigilant, ever protective. But today, that peaceful ceremony was about to be shattered. As Frank wheeled himself closer to the memorial, trying to find a place where he could sit and quietly reflect, Officer Karen Bishop appeared. She worked security for the nearby Patriots Preserve estates, and she had a reputation. People in the community knew her as someone with a little too much power and not enough sense of how to use it. She saw Frank in his scooter and Ranger by his side, and something in her snapped. She walked up to him, her voice sharp and accusatory. "This is a restricted ceremonial pathway, old man," she spat, her eyes narrowed in disdain. "Your animal isn't allowed here, and your scooter is blocking the pathway. You're a hazard." Frank, taken aback by the harshness in her voice, tried to remain calm. "Officer, my service dog is accredited, and I am following the guidelines for the accessible viewing area. We are not causing any disturbance." Bishop sneered, her contempt for Frank palpable. "Respect? You people always demand respect, but you don't follow the rules. You don't respect this memorial, this community. This is a private event, not a public circus." Her words, dripping with venom, were cutting, but Frank held his ground. "I am here to pay my respects," he said, his voice steady but weary. "Just like everyone else who values what this day represents." That's when it happened. Bishop reached for the canister of pepper spray on her belt. Frank's heart skipped a beat, but before he could even react, she sprayed it directly into Ranger's face. The dog yelped, stumbling back in pain, pawing at his eyes, trying to escape the burning sensation. Frank, horrified, lurched forward, his hand shaking, trying to protect his service dog. But it wasn't over. With a twisted look of satisfaction, Bishop aimed the spray directly at Frank, dousing him with the same burning chemical. Frank's cries of pain were drowned out by the suffocating cloud of pepper spray. His skin burned where the chemicals hit, his eyes watering, his breath coming in painful gasps. He collapsed over his scooter, the world spinning around him. Ranger, despite his own agony, stumbled toward Frank, whining, trying to nuzzle him, confused and distressed. The crowd gasped in horror. People shouted, veterans surged forward, cursing at Bishop, trying to stop her. But it was too late. In the chaos, General Ramsey, who had been watching from a distance, knew what she had to do. The calm, controlled demeanor she had when speaking to the crowd shattered in an instant. She was no longer just a speaker. She was a commander, and her troops needed her. She moved quickly, cutting through the crowd with purpose. Bishop was still standing there, her face a mask of cruel satisfaction as she surveyed the damage she'd caused. "That'll teach you to respect the rules, old man," Bishop sneered. "Keep your filthy dog under control next time." General Ramsey's voice cracked like a whip, loud and commanding, stopping Bishop dead in her tracks. "Bishop, stand down now," she ordered. "You just committed an assault on a disabled veteran and his service animal, and you're going to pay for it." Bishop, startled, tried to defend herself. "I'm just doing my job. This is my patrol area." He was a disturbance. But General Ramsey was having none of it. She turned to the police officers who had arrived at the scene, her voice now dripping with authority. "Detain her." She's charged with aggravated assault on a disabled person, assault with a chemical agent, cruelty to an accredited CER-VYC animal, and multiple violations of federal CIVYL rights statutes. Do it now. The officers didn't hesitate. They moved quickly to arrest Bishop, who was now visibly shaking, her arrogance replaced by fear. "You have no idea what you've done," General Ramsey said, her words sharp, like a blade. "You've just attacked one of your own. You've desecrated this memorial and everything it stands for." As Bishop was led away, she shouted something incoherent, her voice cracking. "My brother died in Afghanistan because of men like him, and they parade around like heroes." Her words echoed in the air, a window into the twisted bitterness that had fueled her actions. General Ramsey knelt next to Frank, who was gasping for air, his face raw from the spray. She gently touched his shoulder, her voice soft but filled with determination. "Frank, you're safe now. We're going to take care of you, and we'll make sure this doesn't go unpunished." The paramedics arrived, quickly attending to Frank and Ranger, flushing their eyes with saline and giving Frank oxygen. But the damage had been done. The event that was meant to honor veterans had been violated in the worst possible way. And now, it was up to General Ramsey to make sure this was not swept under the rug. What followed was an investigation that rocked the entire community. It wasn't just about one rogue security guard. No, it was much bigger than that. The HOA, led by a man named Gene Albright, had orchestrated a campaign of harassment against the veterans, specifically targeting Frank. The documents came to light, detailing how Bishop was just a pawn in a much larger, more sinister plan to sanitize Liberty Park to push out the veterans and anyone else deemed undesirable, all to increase property values for the rich residents of Patriots Preserve. Bishop wasn't just a bad guard, she was part of a system of corruption. And now, the full weight of the law was coming down on her. She was charged with multiple felonies, and her boss, Gene Albright, faced charges as well. The investigation was swift, thorough, and unrelenting. But for Frank, the fight didn't end there. General Ramsey wasn't satisfied with just seeing Bishop arrested. She pushed forward, spearheading the creation of the Veterans Sanctuary CER-VYC Animal Protection and Community Accountability Act, a bill that would protect veterans and their CER-VYC animals from the kind of abuse Frank and Ranger had suffered. It passed through Congress, despite fierce opposition, and it became law. From that day forward, veterans and their CER-VYC animals would be safeguarded in public spaces, their rights protected by federal law. And as General Ramsey stood beside Frank and Ranger at the signing ceremony, she knew that this victory was more than just a legal win, it was a message to anyone who thought they could trample on the dignity of those who served. So what do you think? Was justice truly served? Or is there more to this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about what this means for veterans, for our communities, and for the fight against corruption and discrimination.